Hi, this is the Action Research Proposal Assignment Overview, and this is our big giant project for the semester. It has every single course objective in here, so I'm not going to read them all. This is a culminating project, so you're putting everything that you learned into practice with this proposal. I'm going to scroll down here a little bit and look at the outline. As you look at the resources on Blackboard and maybe look around for some more examples, you'll see that there are some different versions of action research proposals. So the one that I have on here, this outline, might not look exactly like some of the other ones you've seen. Some textbooks have some different examples as well. Most of them have the introduction, the literature review, and the methodology. Those are pretty standard. You'll see those on most reviews that you look at. But then once you get past that chapter 3, sometimes it changes, and there are a couple different ways that you can do this next chapter. Some have 2 more chapters after this. But this is what we're going to do in this class. I think it's most appropriate for what we're working on, and I think it'll be most helpful for either those that you decide to go on in the master's program and actually carry out this research and maybe do it for your capstone. And I think it'll be most useful for those of you that are going to be classroom teachers and not going to pursue your master's right now. But it'll give you enough background so that you can do some actual research in your classroom, even if it's not formal action research. So this is the outline that we're going to use. So you can have your title page first of all. This is basic APA format, and then your abstract. The abstract, believe it or not, can be kind of tricky to write. It's short, and sometimes trying to get your idea into one short paragraph can be a little difficult. You probably want to write your abstract last. So after you write the rest of it, go back and write your abstract. And there's some resources on Blackboard that can help you with that. So your first section, now they're called chapters. Don't get worried. You're not going to write a whole chapter. If you're thinking about a novel and the length of a chapter in a novel, don't worry. You're not doing that. But they're just called chapters. That's just how it works. So your first chapter is going to be the introduction. And in here you're going to clearly state the problem. Why do you think it's important to study it? Why do you care about this? Why did you choose this? And your research question is going to be in here. So a little bit of background. You're going to give a little bit of background and let us know what the issue is. I will give you an example. One of the papers I did was about inclusion. It was my master's paper actually, and so I had to clearly state what was the problem with inclusion and why did I care. And at the time I was in a school that had decided to implement full inclusion, but we didn't get any training. They just said you're going to do it, and I was the special ed teacher, and there were some other issues too as far as scheduling and a few other things. So I chose to focus on a narrow aspect of inclusion. But when I did my introduction, I was talking about my experience in the school and some of the issues that we were having, and that made it clear this is why this is a problem and this is something that we need to look at. And then I had my research question within there as well. After that, you're going to have your literature review. Now, you've done this as a separate assignment, so this should pretty much be done. You probably will have a couple small changes, maybe based on feedback. I want to be clear here. If you had a literature review and you got full points on that review, but I made suggestions, make sure you put those suggestions in play, or else you might end up losing points this time around. Some of you may end up having reviews that you met all the requirements of the rubric, but maybe there were a few areas that were kind of weak. So I didn't take off points, but things that you might want to change a little bit. Make sure you change them, or else this time around you might end up losing points. So I want to make sure that you're aware of that. Just be careful with that. In literature review, you're given the background information, current research. Let's go down to methodology. Now this is going to be the biggest new portion. You've already done the lit review, so this is going to probably take the most time for you. This is how you're going to conduct the study. You're going to have your IRB information here. Complete the LSSU paperwork, but do not submit it because we're not actually carrying out this proposal at this time. So don't submit it, because that would create a lot of work for somebody for no reason. But just complete the paperwork. And the reason I'm having you do that is I'd like you to be comfortable with it and understand how to do it. So complete that paperwork and just turn it in at the same time you turn in your proposal. You don't have to have it as part of the document. Just turn it at the same time. Description of the participants. Are you going to look at students? Are you most likely? Some of you might do staff. You might have some other thing you're looking at, but I'm going to guess 99.9% of you are going to have students. So 4th grade students, high school students, a particular group of students, the entire class. Who are you looking at? So describe that. Tell me the procedures. How are you going to carry this out? Is it going to be an ABA study? What is it going to be? Are you going to do an intervention? Tell me exactly what you're going to do. Go over the materials that you're going to need. If you plan on doing a survey or a similar assessment like that, please include a copy of that. So you want to actually do the survey. If you were going to carry this out and you were submitting to the IRB, you would have to have that included. They want to see that survey because depending on how you word it, it can make a difference about whether or not it could cause harm to participants. So that's important that you have that. Any other handouts that you might have that would be part of the procedure, you want to make sure you include those. Let's see, if you're using like a certain graphic organizer or something like that. Those are the kinds of things I'm looking for. You'd put those in the appendix. Your data collection methods. Are you going to do a qualitative study, a quantitative study, or mixed? I'm going to guess most of you probably aren't going to go for mixed. You're probably going to want to pick one or the other. What exactly are you going to collect? If you're doing qualitative, you need to make sure you triangulate that data. You don't want to use just one source. You want to use a couple different sources. So tell me what exactly you're going to collect and how you're going to interpret the results. So just explain that. In the next part, you're going to talk about the significance. Who will benefit from this study? You're basically telling me, why is it important to the field of education that you do this? And then how are you going to share those results? Is it something that you would use just for yourself, or is it something that you would share with staff, you would share with your principal, the students? I don't know. It depends on what your research area is. So tell me who's going to benefit. Why is this important to the field of education? And how would you share the results? And then, of course, your reference list. So you don't have to do the annotations, right, like you did for the annotated bibliography. It's just straight references. And make sure you follow those APA guidelines when you do this reference list. And then the appendix. Some of you may have an appendix, some may not. So that's going to depend on what you have. If you have surveys, if you have handouts, graphic organizers, different items like that, you're going to want to put them in the appendix. Make sure you follow APA guidelines. APA has very strict guidelines on everything, and appendix is included in that. So make sure you follow the guidelines there and have things properly headed and formatted. I'm going to go down to the rubric. All right, so your introduction, clearly state the problem, identify and explain the issues. Your research question is present, clearly connected to the problem. Your literature review, this is kind of, if you look at the rubric for the literature review, review of the literature, this summarizes it. So it's well written, clearly supports the identified problem. You have peer-reviewed and scholarly works. Your methodology, all aspects of methodology clearly explained. When I'm talking about all aspects of methodology, I'm going to scroll back up here. I'm talking about all of this stuff that I outlined in the bullets. A quick and dirty way you can tell if you have that, if we look at the not so great columns over here, an example of a methodology section that would not be that great would be if it'd be difficult to replicate. So basically think the way that you described it, could somebody else who didn't know you and didn't know this project, could that person pick it up, read your methodology, and replicate the study, or carry out the study since you haven't done it yet? So if the answer to that is yes, then you did a good job. If the answer to that is no, then you need to clarify something. So just go through and look, could somebody pick this up and do it based on how you described it? And that's a good way to tell if you've done everything. And then make sure you have the IRB paperwork completed and it's completed correctly. If you have a couple minor errors, you'll lose some points, but try to get that completed correctly. All right, and then the significance section. You've explained the significance of the study. There is an educational benefit. You want to make sure that what you're doing matters. Again, who wants to waste time? Is it important to find out whether a sharpened pencil works better than a slightly sharpened pencil? Probably not. Probably doesn't matter a whole lot. So make sure there's an educational benefit, that something good would come about if you were to carry this out, and then a clear explanation of how those results would be shared. Okay, then formatting and grammar. Again, I kept the number of errors the same because this has gotten longer. So it actually tightens up the requirements a little bit because this is going to be your longest submission yet, but I haven't changed the number of errors that you're allowed. So you want to really watch those. Watch your in-text citations and your bibliography. You should have gotten quite a bit of feedback from me from previous papers and previous work, and you can use that to adjust your work here. This is worth 200 points. It's your biggest assignment. If you have any questions, please let me know.